Hey there guys, and welcome to the video on error handling, where we start to look at how we can use exceptions, which is the method of handling errors within Dart. Now exceptions aren't unique to Dart. It's actually very similar to the same method that's used in Java, C#, JavaScript, and many other languages. Now all exceptions within Dart are unchecked, so you are not really obligated to declare them, nor do you really have to catch them. It is just really good practice to get into the habit of, because when you do start introducing bugs, you want a really easy method to find out exactly where those bugs are appearing, and you want to be able to follow where that bug happened and what caused that bug up the chain. So let's actually start by writing a few pieces of code that are going to introduce a bug. So we're going to have string user input is equal to 3.14, but we're going to use a comma instead of a point because that's our actual bug. Then we're going to create a double number, which is going to be equal to double.parse. So parse takes in a string, in our case it's going to be our user input, and it tries to parse it into a double value, and then put it into this number variable. Obviously it's going to fail because there isn't a dot, there's actually a comma. So then if we try to print, the square of your number is number times number. And then if we do try to print this, we're going to find that we'll get a script error, or under the scenes you'll see an uncaught exception. So we're throwing an exception that we didn't catch. So we don't actually know what's happened here. It's not very descriptive at all. So let's actually start to make it a little bit more descriptive. We're going to use this thing called a try catch. So we're going to try to do something, and in our case it's going to be this field here. So we're going to try to parse the double, and then we're going to try to print it. Okay? And a try needs a catch. So a catch is where we catch an exception, and in this case, if we catch an exception, we're going to pass it to this variable e, and then if we print you have entered an invalid number. So we're going to return just a message that makes it easy for us to understand, and then we're going to print the exception. So let's run it. And there we go, we get you have entered an invalid number, format exception. So that's the exception that's actually being thrown, and it's most likely being thrown by this double.parse. Invalid double. And then it's printing out our number anyway. Or it's printing out our exception, or part of the exception is the input variable that we passed in. Now, what we can actually do is be a little bit more specific, and we can define what type of exception we want to catch. Because say another problem occurs in this block, but we want to handle it in a different way. Maybe we want to just catch the format exception and handle that specifically. So in order for us to do that, what we can do, close it off, and we'll have a on format exception catch e, and we're going to have a print, and within this we'll have this basically the same statement here. So we're going to copy this out, and what that means is that when we get to format exception, we're going to print this line here. Else, if we just get another generic exception that's not a format exception, we're going to print something else happened, and then we're going to print the exception. We try to print it, and we get exactly what we expect. So if, for example, something else happened here, a different type of exception, what will happen is the something that's happened will be thrown instead of the format exception. And that's basically exceptions in a nutshell. It's a really good habit to get into, especially when you're dealing with file I/O and reading from files. You have to be really careful about using try catches, and you should always use them if you're not too sure what the output's going to be. So in the next video, basically just going to start to look at the async command, so how we can make a call asynchronously to a web server. So I'll see you in that video.